adjusting the cameras. Right. Now, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Hello. Welcome to Business English with Richard Halligan. Bom dia, tudo bem? Ok. Meu nome é Richard. Eu sou professor de inglês. So I'm an English teacher living here in Brazil. So thank you for joining me on this live. And for this live, we're going to be looking into how to help with your pronunciation with regular verbs that end with ed. Yeah, because I've noticed during my time that some people still have a bit of problem pronouncing regular verbs with ed. Now, during my time in Brazil, whenever anyone is trying to say any regular verbs that end in ed, they always try to pronounce the ed, and I always tell them you don't have to pronounce it. It's very silent. Knowing the letter E and the letter D sounds completely different as well. Like, for example, when people always say to me, when they want to say the past tense to look, cook, clean, watch, to watch. So those are the present tenses. But when they try to say it in the past tense, they say it like look it, cook it, wash it, watch it. When in the UK, now, I don't know about America, but in the UK, when we are actually using this, we say looked, cooked, washed, watched. Big difference there, a big difference. Now, of course, whenever we use a word that ends in ed, the e becomes very silent, and the d makes a sort of t kind of sound, like cooked, like that. But anyway, I'm going to be going right through the list to help with the pronunciations with certain words. Good morning, bon dia. All right, so let's have a look at the regular verbs with ed that have a K sound, right? So we have asked. So let me just write it down. So A-S-K-E-D. Asked. Now, I've always had a few students that always say ask it, when the correct pronunciation should be asked. Now, of course, I do tell students not to worry about it. It just comes down to practice. So the first one is asked. Our next one we have is, let me write it down here, C-H-E-C-E-D. Checked. So once again, the ed sounds very different. The e slightly disappears and the d turns into like a t sound. Checked. Now, the meaning for checked is when you're going over something and you're making sure that everything is 100%, everything's going fine. Did you check the car? Yes, I checked the car. Okay. Next one, now this word is very, very popular. We have is kicked. Let me just write here for you guys. K-I-C-K-E-D. So to kick, and the pronunciation for it in the past tense, we say kicked. So once again, the e disappears and the d sounds like a t. Kicked. All right. Next, we have is the verb to like. So that's when you like something. It could be anything. It could be like you like a certain movie, you like a certain food, you like certain types of music, or you like doing certain activities like traveling, cooking. Now, during my time in Brazil, I've had a lot of students who tell me all the things that they like, but they've always said it like this. They say, I like it. But of course, I always say to them, all right, there's nothing wrong with how you said it, but if you want to sound like a native, we will say I liked. I liked. Now, of course, sometimes with liked, we use this one to say that there's something you started in the past and you do it, so you like it. There's some of the things you like doing. Or sometimes you could even use the past tense to like to say that you used to like something but you don't like it anymore. So I liked, I liked the movie, but it could have been better. Okay. Now for the next one we have is to look. To look. Now to pronounce this one with an ed, we say looked. I looked. He looked. She looked. We looked. So you looked at something in the past tense. Now, once again, this is one of the most common words that most of my Brazilian students normally have like a small problem with. They say look it, look it. So I look it at this object yesterday. Now, of course, once again, there's no problem with how you said it. It just comes down to practice if you want to sound like a native. Next we have is to talk. Now to make this one to pronounce this one in the past tense, we say talked. I talked to them. We talked to her. She talked to her mother. He talked to his best friend. Talked. Okay. Now for the next one we have is to thank. To thank. Now when someone has done something nice for you, the most common reaction we always say to them is, "Oh, thank you," or let me say thanks to this person, which is great. Now, of course, in the past tense, we can say, "I thanked him," "We thanked him," or "We thanked them." So thanked. Okay, now for the next one we have is to walk. To walk. Now this is another word that most of my Brazilian students actually had a bit of a problem with, and also it's not just among the Brazilian students. I mean, I've even had this problem with students who live outside of Brazil. Some that live in Spain, live in Russia. They've always pronounced this one exactly the same. They say walk it, walk it. But the correct way, if you want to sound like a native, we say walked. I walked. We walked. They walked. You walked. Okay. And finally, with a K, to work. To work. Now, to say this one in the past tense, we say, I worked. He worked. She worked. They worked. You worked. Tony worked in this place. So, once again, worked. Okay? With most of these words, you put a lot of pressure on the actual verb itself, like work, walk, talk, like. You put a lot of pressure on that. But then when you get to the end, remember the E disappears and you put pressure on the D to make it sound like a T sound. So, liked, looked, worked. Okay, now we're going to look into the ones that have an S sound. Okay, let me just write here. Accidentally came out there for a second. Right. Hello to everyone who's just joining. Hello, welcome. So, now we're going to look into verbs which end in ed, but they end with the S sound. So the first one we're going to look into is to confess. To confess. Now, if anyone doesn't know what confess means, is when you have done something wrong and you tell someone what it is that you did, so you confess. Normally it's when we do something very serious, like if you commit a very serious crime, and people will say to you, I want you to confess what you did, and then they say, all right, I confess, I did it. Now, with an ed, we will say confessed. So that's how we say it in the past tense. So I confessed, he confessed, she confessed, they confessed. That's it. All right. Oh, hold on. There we go. All right. Our next one we have is to cross. To cross. Now the meaning for to cross is when you want to get from one destination to the next by walking over, like a street, over a bridge, a pathway, something like that. So you cross the street. Of course, we do normally use cross to describe that someone is very angry. So like, I am cross with you. We are cross with you. She is cross with you. Now, to use this one in a past tense, we say crossed. Crossed. So I crossed the line. That means I did something which I should not have done. Or he was crossed with us. Okay. Going to the next one. Next we have is to dress. To dress. So that's obviously to dress. This one is very simple. Is when you're putting your clothes on. So get dressed. Okay. Now with an ed sound, it will sound like dressed. Dressed. Okay. So I got dressed. We got dressed. She got dressed. So we got our clothes on and we're ready to go. So we are dressed to go. Okay. Oh, no, sorry. I spelled it wrong. Have I been spelling it wrong this whole time? Okay. Our next word is to embarrass. Embarrass. So this is when you do something that would make someone feel uncomfortable, like make them feel a bit ashamed. So it's like, oh no, what have you done? Like that. Or sometimes you even do something to yourself. If you've done something a bit stupid or foolish. So embarrassed. Oh, sorry, embarrass. Now in the past tense we would say embarrassed. Embarrassed. As you've noticed, the E and D are exactly like with a K sound. The E is silent, but the D changes into another letter, so it's like a D. It's like a T sound. Embarrassed. Okay, but the S seems to overpower this word. Embarrassed, like that. Okay. Next we have is to guess. To guess. Now, the meaning for to guess is when you are trying to think of an answer. You might not know what the answer is, or you have an idea what the answer is. So you decide to say any word that comes into your brain. So, like, say for instance, if you didn't know a certain math problem, like someone said, 5 times 10, and you didn't know, you'd be like, so you take a guess. It's like, is it 50? Yeah, you got it. Of course, when it comes to guessing, it's always a 50-50. You're going to get it right or you're going to get it wrong. Okay. Now, to use this in a past tense, we would say guessed. guest. Now, there is a bit of a problem. This does sound like the word guess, where someone, visits you, when someone visits you or someone comes to your house for a party or for a dinner, say, oh, here is my guest. So, guest, when you're thinking of something, and guest. So, and that's someone who you have invited to come to your house for dinner or for a party. Okay, so it's easy to get those two words mixed up as well. Hello for everyone who's just joining. We are looking into regular verbs in the past tense. Okay, and to help with your pronunciation, to make you sound more like a native. Okay. Oh, thank you. All right. Right, our next word we have is impress. To impress. Now, if anyone is not familiar with the word to impress, it means that you want to get people's approval of you. So if you want people to notice you, and also you want to make yourself stand out, so you try to impress people with a certain skill. Let's say it could be, with maybe your writing skills, your singing skills, how you play a musical instrument, your driving skills, or even how you play a certain sport. So you want to impress people. Okay, you want to get everyone's attention. Now, to use this one in the past tense, we would say impressed. Impressed. It's like, oh, I am impressed. She was impressed. They were impressed with you. So impressed. So once again, the D sounds like a T. Right, for our next one we have is increase. To increase. To make something that is small, to make something larger. Increase. Now to use this one in the past tense, we would say increased. Increased. Okay. So I was able to increase the budget. Now our next verb is to miss. To miss. Now, of course, if anyone doesn't know, the meaning to miss has got different meanings. One type of miss is that, let's say, for instance, you're playing a sport, and let's say like maybe I can't say the word. Football. There we go. That's what I wanted to say. Football. And you run towards the goal. You take a shot, but the ball goes into a different direction. Like it may go over the goal. It may go wide. So you miss. Okay. So you miss the shot. And also another type of miss is when you have not seen another person for a long time. So so let's say for instance you moved to another city, or maybe you've just been too busy with work and you haven't seen many of your friends or family members, and when you see them it's like, oh my gosh, I miss you, like that. Now, of course, to use this one in the past tense, we would say missed. I missed. I missed the shot. I missed you. We missed you. Oh, they missed the shot. There we go. Okay. Now, for our next one we have is to pass. To pass. Now, with pass, this one has got two different meanings. One type of pass is when you're trying to get from one location to another, but something could be blocking your path. So something is in your way. It could be a person, it could be an object. So what you need to do, you need to try to pass what it is that's in front of you. Another type of pass is when you have something and you want to give it to another person. So, like you can say, can you pass me the car keys? There we go, car keys. There we go. So I passed it from one person to the next. Very nice, very nice. And also, we also use past to say when you have finished one exam and you got a really good result. So you pass. You pass with flying colours. So that means you got like 100% on your test. Now to use this one in the past tense, the pronunciation is past. Past. Now, of course, one important thing is try not to get this one mixed up with past, with P-A-S-T. Okay, so you've got past and the past. Now, of course, normally, if you are using an American accent, you can easily separate this one. So, the past, like something that happened before, past. But if you want to give something to another person or you want to get around something, you can say past. I passed this person. I passed the ball. I passed my exam. So it's much more lighter, past. Okay. Right. Now we have promise. To promise. Now, if anyone is not familiar with the word promise, promise means is that you have given your word to someone that you are going to do something. Now this one could be anything like helping someone out, doing a task, taking care of something or taking care of someone. So, so to use this one, we say promised. I promised. So I promised I would have this completed. I promised. I promised my family we would go to Disneyland. So promised. Yeah. Right, here we go. Hello to everyone who's just joining. Welcome to Business English with Richard Halligan. That is me. We're looking into past tense verbs with the ed sound. Just going into the next word. Okay. Right. For our next one we have is announce. Announce. So these are words that have a C sound, but they still sound like an S. Announce. See, so the C almost sounds like an S there. Announce. Like that. Okay, so in case anyone doesn't know what announce means, is when you are giving out information. Now it could be for absolutely anything. So you have an announcement to make. So you got information that you want to pass on to other people. Now to use this in a past tense, we would say announced. Announced. Now, of course, you may have noticed how I always keep making the D sound like a T sound. You don't have to be all like announced, walked, cooked, like that. No, you don't have to do that. I'm just trying to give one example that the D is going to make a different sound. Okay, so announced. Next we have is to dance. To dance. Now, I'm not going to go into full detail with dance because I'm sure everyone knows what this word means, to dance. It's like, yeah, I can't dance them to save my life. So, so that's how it is. Now, to use this one in a past tense, we would say danced. Danced. So I danced the night away. I danced with this person. I danced to the music of this particular band. Now, in the US, the way how they say this one, they say, I danced. I danced with this person. I danced all night. Okay? But like I always say with students, if you have been studying American English and you feel more comfortable saying that, stick with it. Okay. Right. Our next one is to force. To force. Now, with force is when you are trying to do. Well, actually, there's different meanings for type of force. One type of force. Now, I don't mean Star Wars, the Jedi feel the force. No. What I mean is, one type of force is when you are trying to make another person do something that they don't want to do. So you force them to do it. Also, another type of meaning for force is when you are using a certain amount of strength to move something. So, like, say for instance, a door is locked, you're trying to get it open, so you try to force it open. So you're pushing as hard as you can, or you using your shoulder and boom, you try to ram into it to try and get it open. Now, in the past tense, we would to say this word, we say forced. Forced. Okay, we were forced to do this. We didn't want to, but we had to. Okay. Our next one we have is influence. Influence. Now, the meaning of this one is when it's like when you inspire someone, you give someone inspiration, or you giving someone motivation and confidence to go on to do something that they want to do. So you influence them. Now, to use this in a past tense, I think I already slipped it in there. We say influenced. Influenced. Okay. There we go. Our next word is introduce. Introduce. Now, of course, anyone who has learned English, they probably know this word, because this is like one of the first things you probably learn is when you have to introduce yourself. So, hello, my name is, his name is, her name is. It's like that. Now, to pronounce this one in the past tense to sound more native, we say introduced. Introduced. Okay? Introduced. Sounds like you're saying juice, no, just at the end. Alright, next we have to notice. To notice. Now, if anyone not sure of notice, it means that you have seen something and you're giving it full attention. So it's like, oh, I noticed something, or you saw, hey, I noticed you're doing this, or I noticed this is going on. Now, for a past tense, we will say noticed. I noticed. Notice. Okay. And finally, with the C sound, we have the word reduce. Reduce. So that means it's to make something smaller or to take away something. Like, say for instance, if you are giving out too many items to a group of people and you're running out, so you want to make sure that everyone has a fair share. You try to reduce the amount of items you are giving out, so you give out less. Or if you're trying to arrange a party and you realize that the place that you've hired or you rented might not be able to take so many people, so you try to reduce the amount of people that you can allow to enter. So you can say, you can come in, you can't come in, you can come in, you can't come in. I know it sounds horrible to say that, but when it comes to that, you should plan ahead. Now, to use this one in the past tense, we say reduced. Reduced. So once again, reduced. Okay. Like I've always said, when it comes to the D sound, you don't always have to put pressure on it to make it sound like a T. Just try and make it as light as possible. Reduced. Reduced. Like that. Okay, so this is the first part of regular verbs that end in ed. It's a very long list. Now, if anyone who was watching, or maybe watching a little bit later, I will be doing part 2 of regular verbs that end in ed at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Okay, so I'm going to give you the second part this afternoon. And if there's anything you might have missed, you can always just actually I should be saying that in part 2. If anything you missed, you can watch part 1. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining, and I look forward to seeing you guys at 2 o'clock, where I will be giving the second part of regular verbs in the past tense using ed sound. Okay, have a good day, have a good afternoon. Bon dia or buon tardi, wherever you are. Ciao, or take care. Bye.